You can be in the process of healing and building. You can be at the same time in the middle of losing and leading, and it can all happen simultaneously.
Welcome to a special bonus episode of the Direct Approach podcast. Today, we're featuring one of the most personal and impactful presentations from DSU Fall 2025. Herbalife Life Chief Strategy Officer Blake Mallen on leading through seasons of reinvention. In this episode, Blake shares why there is no permanent after in leadership or business. He explains how cycles of momentum, plateau, and reinvention are normal, why resilience is about bouncing forward, and how leaders can navigate the messy middle with clarity and purpose. This episode is a preview of the wealth of video content available in the DSN library, an exclusive resource for DSN supporter companies. One of many benefits designed to help keep you and your teams engaged, informed, and one step ahead. If you work at a supporter company, simply log in using your unique company code to access over 2,000 curated assets, including podcasts, webinars, and past DSN event replays. If you're interested in becoming a DSN supporter, you can contact us at support@directsellingnews.com. Now let's hear from Blake Mallen, Chief Strategy Officer of Herbalife, on leading through seasons of reinvention.
When I was on this stage, I had the privilege of sharing kind of a very personal story and a personal part of my journey with you, how everything changed for me back on January 7th and January 8th of this year. And for those of you that were in the room, you'll remember. For those of you that weren't in the room, I'm not going to go into a lot of details on it. Despite doing everything possible back in January 7th and January 8th, unfortunately, I was one of over 7,000 families who had my family home burned down in the Palisades, Los Angeles wildfires. To make a horrific situation even worse, I've been very vocal and transparent about sharing that it was a paid-off family home. Just months before that moment, we were dropped by our insurance company. And therefore, I was left literally losing everything with absolutely no recovery. I'll never forget the moment actually right before where I pulled a bunch of things out of the garage, right, to throw them into my truck and literally watched my family home burn down. And in many ways, beyond like everything that I ever had, it was a reflection of everything I'd ever worked for in my life up until that point. I will never forget and always be grateful for the support, the messages, the prayers of many of you in this room as individuals and really across the direct selling community. You'll never know just how important and how much that meant and has continued to mean to me and my family. So I just want to continue to express gratitude to many of you guys in the room. And I think about that moment, and then I fast forward to 6 months later. Matter of fact, July of this year, I find myself walking onto a different stage, actually here in Dallas, Texas, the AT&T Stadium. Any Dallas Cowboys fans in the room? Right, a few of you. Sharing an idea that I had the privilege of helping create, a vision I'm very passionate about, in a giant arena of like 15,000 brand new friends. And I think about the contrast between these two moments and just how surreal that is. In this industry, we're no strangers. Like we know everybody loves a good like before and after story. We live in a culture that really emphasizes like the highlight reels of social media. We have been taught to constantly show the world that we're living in this after. And we're made to feel that if we don't have that after story, there's something wrong with us. We're not doing everything that we're meant to or supposed to be doing. And I wanted to share a personal message with this room because I think it'll resonate and relate. Because if there's one thing that I have learned through my journey this year, everything personally, everything with my family, everything professionally, it's that is not real. This idea that we live in a perpetual after story is not real. My new belief is there is no such thing as like forever being on the other side. I've learned a lot this year, just emotionally, that like you can experience grief and gratitude like at the same time. I found it's crazy that like you can have moments of joy and moments of pain like at the exact same breath. You can be in the process of healing and building. You can be at the same time in the middle of losing and leading, and it can all happen simultaneously. It's a paradox. And I think the reality is, not just in life, but I think the reality is in business, this is where we spend most of our time. Somewhere in between broken, breakthrough. In this kind of like messy middle place. And I'm up here on stage sharing transparently. I feel like I'm very much in the messy middle right now. And I'm willing to bet many of us in this room, in our companies, in our roles, in our lives. How many of you guys are willing to admit that you might be in a messy middle season? So you guys, I just wanted to share kind of openly a framework, some navigational tools, 3 to be specific, that are helping me at this moment for when you, your companies, maybe find yourself in similar seasons. Because I believe the messy middle, I don't think it's a detour. I actually think the messy middle is the way forward. First kind of realization, seasons are normal. Now, wisdom in the season is optional. So this year is 26 years for me in this space. With that amount of time comes experience. With experience comes perspective. What's the word? Perspective. And I've learned that this business moves in seasons. You guys tell me if you can relate to any of these. You have the beginning. There might be some startups in the room, some early founders in the room, right? The beginning is a vision, it's hope, right? It's dreaming, it's excitement. You move from the start into a climb. The climb is when you're in the grind, you're in the hustle, you're in the zone, you're focused, you're doing the work. If you do the right thing consistently long enough, we get to experience this magical phase of momentum. It is magic. Things start to flow. Things start to expand. Things start to happen that are unexplainable. Who in this room has actually lived in your company in what you would call a momentum season in the past by a show of hands? A few of us. How many of you guys who are raising your hands, you've also realized even in the first time you think it's gonna last forever, it doesn't last forever. Because eventually you hit a plateau where you're doing the same things, but it's not getting the same results, right? You continue to do the things that once worked, they no longer do. If you're in the plateau long enough and you don't create change, you go through the dip. Some of us call it different things. The dip creates doubt. What happened? Is it broken? Did something change? You don't create the shift when you're in the dip, you get to the valley. The valley can be a dark place. The valley is where doubt becomes fear, like, is this all over? Was it luck? Can I do it again? The valley can be dangerous because if you don't get out of the valley, you can die in the valley. You can die by slow, right, and painful, right, relegation. You can die by dramatic extinction if you don't get to the next phase, which I think has been a theme the last couple days. Call it reinvention, call it transformation, call it evolution. That is the beginning of a new cycle. Who has lived some of these seasons? Who's been around long enough that you realize that it's not just one cycle of seasons? So you guys, with the time and experience comes perspective, and you start to realize they actually connect. If you get out of the valley, you decide to reinvent, you can restart the cycle, back to the climb, back to the work, back to the hustle, and can recreate momentum, and it won't last. And you'll go through another plateau, and there'll probably be another dip, and you might go through another valley, but you have a little more experience because you've been there before and you know what to do to get your way out. How many guys in the room have been through a season of seasons or a cycle of cycles? For those of you not raising your hand, this might be the most valuable information you get, is actually understanding that it's normal. I didn't read this in a book. I wish someone would have taught me this when I was in the seats coming up as a founder or an executive. I had to learn this by living this. Starting as a distributor in 1999, thinking I was retired in my early 20s, getting the phone call, the company went out of business. Put me on the ownership side for the very first time, complete reinvention. Only career experience I ever had was a high school pool lifeguard. That was my work resume when put in the ownership side of a business. Doing the grind, doing the hustle, experiencing a crazy momentum phase, and then the other side, when you run into things, some in your control, some outside your control, a very far ride down, dark valleys. 2008, recession almost put us out of business, lost 90% of the business that we built, had to completely reinvent, ran all the way up to this high in 2012. A lot of things crashing down, long valley. Actually met a gentleman near the valley season, one of the darkest times of my life in the room, Terry LaCour and the LaCour family, pulled me out of a very dark valley, right? Helped create a new reinvention season. Through time with Prove It, Brian Underwood, an amazing community, an awesome ride, another valley. Oh, and I'm very much in. Still weird getting announced as the CSO of Herbalife. Like, that's still a new thing for me. Very much a reinvention season right now. Side note, actually, this event is the 1 year. It was 1 year ago. Justin from Outside, who's in the room, invited me to dinner with the incoming CEO of Herbalife. Just social dinner. Next evening, having a dinner with Terry in the room. 1 year later, here we are. Be careful who you go to dinner with at these events. Okay? Stuart does such a phenomenal job bringing people, right, in connection together to allow us to get to other seasons. It's real. And perspective, right, changes everything. It's weird. Inside Herbalife, if you haven't been there for 10 years, you're a baby. For some of the startups in the room, you're like, I can't even think about where the world's gonna be in 10 years. It's perspective. I remember being in a really, really, really deep valley, like one of the darkest ones for a long period of time. Huge issues, internal culture issues, because when sales are going down, it's hard to keep morale up. Yes? Inside the walls, outside the walls, right? Entitlement issues, conversation, culture collapsing. Was close with John C. Maxwell at the time. Maxwell pulled me aside. He said, Blake, you're focused on the wrong gap. Right? I'm like, what do you mean you're focused on the wrong gap? He goes, all of you guys, you're focused on your peak, where you were, what you had. And you're looking at where you are, and you're fixated on everything you've lost from your peak, right, to your valley. That's just gonna create shame. That's gonna create guilt. It's gonna make you feel like you're a failure. He said, you gotta focus on where you started. Where did you begin? Where did all this start? Where have you become? Because if you focus on where you began to where you are now, right, you shift, right, the energy, right, and the feeling of what you are creating. I had a mentor say, Blake, your power is not in what we achieve. We get this all wrong. We're conditioned to build our self-worth and our identity by the scorecard or, the scoreboard, by the EBITDA number, by the top line sales growth, by the recruiting numbers of this month. If you're focused on the scoreboard and that is what you're tying your power to, you're never gonna be able to sustain. You're gonna burn yourself out because nothing goes up forever. Our power is not tied into what we achieve. It's tied in what we overcome and who we become along the way. And if we have this perspective that seasons are normal, right, that we can gain wisdom through them, then we realize what we're going through, it's not a life sentence. This is just a setup for what comes next. The seasons we're in are not punishment. They are preparation for what's around the corner. Who honestly believes that can be true? You know, it's interesting when I went through the fire earlier this year, like my immediate reaction was I got to get it back. I just lost, right? Most of my net worth, things I'd spent my entire career going through the ups and downs to get this output, literally burned down. My first response was, I gotta get back. How do I get back what I lost? In business, we do this. We get something, we lose something, and we try then to spend all our energy getting that same something back. It took me a long time this year to realize my life, it was gone on January 8th. I didn't get that then. It took me most this year to process, that's gone. It's been gone. There's no going back to that. Same thing's true with where we are as a channel, right, in our businesses. Resilience is not bouncing back. Resilience is about bouncing forward, right? How can we use where we are, be real where we are, and create where we need to go? Resilience is like a buzzword this year. I think it's because just the world's in an interesting place. In our channel, we're in an interesting place, right? I think resilience is needed, but what does that mean? What does that require to actually be resilient through the seasons that we're in? Here's my take, okay, on where real resilience comes from. And I think it's a series of steps. I think number one, you gotta let go. You can't carry an old story into a new season. It begins with letting go of what once was. I think it takes an ownership personally within your team, right? A personal ownership on the role we have in whatever the setback is. Some things are not in our control. That is true. Many things are. They are both true. We need to take ownership in what we can control, but I think it goes deeper than that. I think we actually have to accept it. And accepting it doesn't mean that it's okay. Doesn't mean you can't be really aggravated. Doesn't mean you didn't do anything wrong, right? Doesn't mean you can't be real with all of that. It's just becoming at peace with what it is. And accepting so we can begin to recognize and unlock the value of the seasons. I don't think we can really get the wisdom if we don't do these things. I think once we do those things, we can start to reframe. We can start to make this shift. We can make peace with all of that and now start to get the wisdom, right, that it's meant to give us. If we were all going through these seasons in order to prepare us for what comes next. If all this was designed to help us evolve and help us reinvent and help us create, right, a bigger, better, right, model for impacting people. If that's what this season was for, what would it be teaching us? It's a totally different frame of mind on how to approach the seasons we're in. It turns the pain into a power. And from there, we can begin to create. That whole Socrates guy was right? Secret of change. Focus all of our energy not on fixing the old, but on creating the what? New. All right, creating the new. To create, we have to be future focused. It cannot be past based. And it's really easy to tell if you and your team are future focused right now or you're past based right now if you just listen. You can hear it in the conversations every day. Remember when? Insert. If we could just get back to last year's numbers. Well, this is how we did it before. Trying to dust off old playbooks. Well, we had momentum when. Truth check. How many of you guys recognize conversations like this happening inside your walls currently every single day? It's past-based. How are you going to move forward looking back? How are you going to move forward if your language is stuck in what's gone? The language needs to shift. The beliefs need to shift. What got us here won't get us there. We need to build for what's to come. The market has shifted. Let's design where we're going. Wayne Gretzky, right? Hockey fans, he said it best. Skate to where the puck is going, not to where the puck has been. That's why these events, I think, are so important, because they get us out of the day-to-day. They remove us from all the meetings and all our overscheduled lives. They put us in a room. We get to think a bigger picture. We get to realize the game has changed. We get to look ourselves in the mirror. We get to let go of what once was, and we get to start to recreate what can be. Where are you trying to get back to right now? What language do we have to shift internally? Last one I'll give. Is this helping, yes or no? Can anybody relate to the seasons, yes or no, right? Last one I'll give, you might say, Blake, that's great. Seasons are normal. Understand it. That's good perspective, right? Great. Yes, we have to let go of what once was. We have to have a resilience for where we're going. We got to be future focused, but how do we do that? Reinvention, transformation, evolution, innovation, whatever term you want to use, I think all of it begins with alignment. Here's my take on the starting line. You have to be aligned. Well, what do you mean have to be aligned? The who and the what have to be aligned. The who, your board and your investors, your company leadership, your field leadership, and your community have to be aligned on the mission and vision. Why are we here and where are we going? The culture and values, how are we going to do it? What do we stand for? What do we not? The strategy and roadmap, what's the plan? And our daily execution, what are we doing? This has to be truly aligned. This is the beginning of transformation. This is the beginning of reinvention. You cannot make a shift if you don't have this. If there's not alignment in the who, you get friction. If there's not alignment in the what, you get confusion. Are most the horror stories? Think about what we're facing as a channel right now. I think the root of most of the stories we're hearing starts right here. You got people that are not aligned, private equity board structures, right? People outside the industry not being aligned on our business model, what's the best, where's the future, where we're going, creating devastation. Begins with alignment. At Herbalife, this is where we are focused the most right now. Stefan Graziani, brand new CEO, 32 and a half year distributor, now into the CEO of a $5 billion largest public direct selling company in the world, a distributor. 9,000 almost employees, 94 countries. Our energy is focused right here. How do we create alignment on where we're going? Last thing I'll share. You might say, well, where are we getting aligned? What is the future? This is just my take. There's a lot of takes in the room. I know Stuart mentioned a lot over the last couple days. Here's where we are placing our big bets. We think the future is data-driven, evidence-based. We think the future is highly personalized because of the access, right, of information and data. That's where we think the future is going. That's why we made the investments, right? Herbalife bought a liqueur entity, Link Biosciences. Really a huge investment because of the technology of personalization. I know the e-commerce, Shopify, all that's like a big conversation right now, just transparently. We made that bet. We're replatforming with Shopify right now for this purpose, for high personalization, high data-driven. We used another liqueur co. I believe they have the best ecosystem for innovation in the industry. ShopIQ is our integration partner. I went through 2 years, guys, of all the things in that world. So the good, the bad, right? I think it's the best platform. I think ShopIQ is the best integration partner. There are things you need to know. There are issues, right, to be aware of. It is still jury out. I've spent 2 years on it. If you're down that path, let's share notes. I'll keep you posted on how it turns out, right? We start to roll out a beta at the end of this month. High tech, high touch. How do we bring technology and community together? Double downing on relationships and trust. I think that's the differentiator. And it's all about speed, 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 speed. Reinvention is no longer a season. I think reinvention has to be a function at the pace things are changing right now. This is the way we're approaching our structure, right? And how we're setting everything up. In closing, guys, I think here's the main message. There's no going back. There is no going back, right? We are in a perpetual season of shift as a channel right now. And I think this messy middle that we are all in, if we're all transparent, it's not where we get stuck. This is where we create what's next. This is where we build. This is where we grow. This is where we become. This is where we start to create the companies, the missions, the visions, and the models that take our communities to a whole new level. I believe that's the season we're in, and I believe that's the real breakthrough.
Thank you for tuning in. Please take a moment to subscribe and give a 5-star rating and review to help Direct Approach continue to provide more candid insights and interviews for direct selling corporate executives. And don't forget to register for our upcoming spring events at dsnevents.com. Secure your spot now. Thank you for listening and supporting DSN and the Direct Approach podcast.